Welcome to the Beard Speaks podcast. Hey, all right, guys, what's going on? It's Pat here with the Beard Speaks podcast. What is going on? Well, it's a great day. Great day. And another amazing episode here at the Beard Speaks podcast. So I want to thank you guys. The last episode went crazy, man. Thank you guys for all the downloads and all the love and sharing the podcast. It really means a lot to me. Fathers' rights, parents' rights. Let's just get that straight, guys. It's all about parents, man. And that's near and dear to my heart. Again, it's something that I'm going through, and it's something that I know a lot of people are going through. I've been on the TikTok lately. Guys, visit us on TikTok, the Beard Speaks podcast. I'm trying to really reach out to people who are going through, parental alienation and going through these things where you can't see your kids, and the court system is turning their back on you, not listening to you. It's happening. It's happening to moms, dads all over the world, and it's horrible, and like you heard in the last episode, these stories they're just heart-wrenching, man. And at the end of the day, kids are suffering, right? So I just want to tell everyone out there that, you can reach out to me at the Beard Speaks podcast at gmail.com. Shoot me a message. If you want to, talk to me, tell your story on the show, please do that. Today I got an amazing show for you guys. I have Jesse Carstairs. He's the host of the Jesse Carstairs Show. And what an amazing man, Christian man, living life, raising his kids right, and just the opposite side of the story here. Now, here you have a father who is, he's doing it right, man, and it's what a great story, and there'll be many more. I'm going to have him back on the show again to talk a little bit more, but you guys got to check out his show. I mean, he's an advocate for resilient manhood, and he discusses fatherhood, faith, fitness, leadership, masculinity. Just a great guy all the way around. We had a great conversation. I'm going to bring that to you here soon, but right now, guys, I do want to shout out, again, and I do this on every show. I'm done with the countries, man. I can't keep up. You guys are, I love it. That's all I gotta say. I'm speechless because we're in every country right now, and that's awesome. The little podcast I could, guys are listening to me all over the world, and I appreciate that. And even this list of cities that comes up in my analytics is just, I can't even go through them all. But, hey, man, just shout out again to Chicago, Illinois, my hometown, Scottsdale, Arizona, Los Angeles, California, Knoxville, Tennessee, my home away from home, Washington, Virginia, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Puck Ridge, Illinois, Tacoma, Washington, Portage, Indiana, right next door. What's going on, Indiana? Austin, Texas, New York, San Antonio, Texas, Houston, Texas, Atlanta, Georgia. What's up, Atlanta? San Jose, California, Burbank, Illinois, Springfield, Illinois, the capital. What are you guys doing down there, man? Somebody do something with JB, please. Naperville, Illinois. What's going on? Federal Way, Washington, Phoenix, Arizona, Miami, Florida, the home of my Miami Dolphins, baby. Don't hate. Who else we got on here? Evanston, Illinois. What's up? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What's up, Wisconsin? Brooklyn, New York. Tampa, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee, Westmont, Illinois, Schaumburg, Illinois, Arlington Heights, Illinois, Kansas City, Missouri. What up, Missouri? Cincinnati, Ohio. Waterloo, Iowa. What's up, Waterloo? Love my Waterloo, Iowa, man. You guys you're in my heart. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. What's happening? Geneva, Illinois. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I do the home of the Rocky Balboa. What's going on, Philadelphia? Columbus, Ohio. Man, it's just going on. The list keeps going. All right. So, guys, where can you listen to the Beard Speaks podcast? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're everywhere, man. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Player FM, Good Pods, True Fans, Deezer, Listen Notes. I mean, if they got a podcast, The Beard Speaks podcast is there, baby. All right, guys. So without further ado, I'm going to bring the portion of the interview here with Jesse. You guys are going to dig this. Again, it's just a really good flip from the rough stuff we talked about on the last show. This is just an amazing man that's doing it right, raising his kids and cattle. Man, what a guy. So here we are. Without further ado, here's Jesse. All right, guys. Today on the show, I have a very special guest, Jesse Carstairs from the Jesse Carstairs Show. What's up, Jesse? How are you today?
I'm good, Pat. How are you?
Doing awesome. I want to say thank you, and I appreciate you being on the show today. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. A lot of your the things you talk about on your show really resonate with me, and I know like fatherhood, faith, fitness is huge with me too, and but the main thing is just being a good leader. So leadership and how to be a better person all the way around. So before we even get into that, I would love to talk about how this came about for you teaching other people, like how you use all of this in your own life and what lessons learned that you came about to, hey, I want to give this information out to other people so I can teach that to others. So how did that come about for you?
Really, I believe it starts with my identity or a man's identity. Can his identity be taken away from him by another man? Okay. So my identity, first and foremost, is in Christ. I'm a follower of Christ. And then way below that is a man of discipline. I'm up at 3:30 in the morning every day. A man of honor, a man of integrity, and a man of brutal honesty. And when you have a foundation like that for your identity, it can't be shaken. You have a very, very strong foundation. And that's where everybody needs to start, because it doesn't matter what you overcome, who you engage with, what someone says about you. You can lean into that identity and not be shaken.
No, that's you have to have that foundation, like building a house, right? The foundation is no good, the house is going to tumble. So that's awesome. That's great advice right there. So your faith, now that's a huge thing I talk about, on my show too. And it's I don't push it on a lot of people. I know for me personally, it's where I get grounded. And I know sometimes we all struggle with our faith, especially when we go through tough times in life and we challenges and things like that. As a cancer survivor, I know that's one of the times in my life where my faith was shaken, and I had to really dig deep to trust in God and how he was going to heal me. And I had to, the hardest thing to do, I've always learned, is God's timing, right? That's one of the hardest things. But how do you kind of dig deep in you and never have that faith to be, shaken from you?
It's the belief in, the belief in Christ, first and foremost. I mean, Paul describes his love for us that we can't even comprehend. And if we truly believe that, Yahweh God is the creator of the universe, then everything in that book should be objective. Our morals are objective because it's given to us by the creator.
Sure.
And if it is objective, then we should not be questioning his love for us. It should be as strong as gravity. None of us question gravity, right?
Right.
So then his love for us should be equally not as questioned. And when we accept that as men, because we're performance-based, right?
Right.
Men, we think we have to earn it. But if we even look at like Ephesians, when Paul wrote Ephesians, the very beginning, the first 3 chapters is all about the love he has for us. And then the next 3 are about the works that we should be doing, the things we should be striving for. And it's for a reason, because if it was the other way around, we would feel like we'd have to earn the love. But he says we are loved first, and then this is how you should live.
Yes.
And that was very intentional, because it's exactly the way that Jesus loves us. God loves us unconditionally, and then wants us to go out there and create disciples.
Right.
So when we comprehend that love, we should be able to move forward and not have anxiety, put our anxieties onto God, put our trust in him, truly have trust.
Right. Which is one of the hardest things, but your faith always brings you through. Do you feel...
Yeah, because we have to realize that this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
This is not the end. And again, if we treat the book as if it is gravity, it is objective, then we should know this is just the beginning.
Right.
So why should we stress over the things here that are just worldly? And most of the times we care about the opinions of others, which is why there's some fashion of stress.
That is very true. Now, do you feel that in this day and age, and I know, I do, obviously Christianity is under attack, right? Fatherhood, manhood is under attack. It just seems that we are living in this twilight zone where, as men, as fathers, right, who are trying to do the right thing, follow God's word and try to be true to ourselves, yet we have a society that is trying to completely tear us apart and tear us down, What are your thoughts on that?
I completely agree. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's been like that for a handful of decades.
Yeah. But seems more now. It just seems a lot more now that it's really, really, really pushing us to the limits, And again, you talk about how fathers are treated just in family courts and how manhood is looked at by, if you go political. I mean, it's crazy how right now, especially being a Christian man, is almost like you have a bullseye on your back.
Yeah, and you know whose fault that is, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Whose fault do you think it is? And then I'll tell you who I think it is.
Well, I honestly think that, and I know this sounds crazy to a lot of people, but I think that right now we are being attacked by the underworld. That is, something people really don't believe in, that there is a Satan, there is God, right? And I think that this is Satan's work right now that's going on in the world. And a lot of people's minds are being poisoned. That's what I believe.
So I'm not going to say you're wrong, because Satan is considered the prince of this earth, right?
Right.
He is considered the prince of this earth. He does have a limited amount of demons, though. He does not have an unlimited amount. So They only have so much work they can do. But the reason, at least in Western culture, why men and Christianity are in the position we are is because of men. We have allowed this. The men, we have not been active in the church. The church is very feminized.
Yeah.
Men have not been, and by men, I mean men who are good at being men who are masculine men of faith. We have not been active in politics. We have not been active in our communities. We have not been active. And therefore you have boys playing in girls' sports. We have mutilation of boys and girls going on actively because of the lack of participation of good men who are good at being men. Because it is men who allow anything to happen in culture. And so if men sit on the sidelines, destructive things like this will occur. But if men are at the forefront, it's how you get the freest land that there is. It's how you get 1776. It's how you get men who kill bin Laden in the night. So you get men who are willing to go to war to protect a group of people. It's men protect women and children.
Right.
So we allow these things by just being passive.
It's very true. I talk a lot with men's groups, with my church and just other groups of men and that are going through, like I said earlier, family courts and things like that. And one of the biggest things that people say is, well, you never see the men rise up, you know what I mean? And start marching and this and that. And I know some people, there's always excuses. Well, we're all working, right? Right. Who has the time? We're trying to maintain our lives. And the minute you take the man out of his, employment and start running around, I mean, I don't have time to run around with a sign, and start doing those things. Right. So there's a lot of different arguments you can make, but you are 100% right. I believe that, that's how Satan works through us, right? By the men that just kind of sit back and allow all this stuff to happen. And if you're right, we've got the transgender thing going on. We got, men and women's sports. You have, the political landscape is just dividing everybody. They're defunding police. And I mean, there's just so many bad things are going on. But you're right. Who's letting it happen? We're just sitting by and not rising up to the occasion, so to speak, right?
Exactly.
It's sad. I think one of the hardest parts of accepting that is watching generation after generation getting worse, right? So it's almost, how do we turn around and look at our children and say, it has to stop here, right? Now is the time to change things. How do you put all this in practice, obviously, in raising your kids and trying to show them the right way to live, in God's word and to do things, I say correctly, but, to do things correctly?
Yeah, we have to be in the word, one. Two, we have to love our wives, commit sacrificial love day in and day out. Three, we have to sharpen our body and be part of a brotherhood. Too many men think they can lone wolf it out there.
Yeah.
But I promise, the things that me and you were talking about, you cannot do it on your own. You need a brotherhood who's striving to go to the same area you are.
Yeah.
I mean, part of my definition of a masculine man is one who's continuously working on his skills. And another part is you are desired by other men to be in their tribe. And so those are some of the things that we need to be doing. I mean, and then we like to use that excuse, like you were saying, well, we're working, we're at our job, too busy. But it's like, are men intentionally discipling their sons? No, men don't do that. Men leave the raising of their sons to their wife, which you're getting some soft sons. No matter how much you think you yell at them to make them tough, that ain't working either. Mm-hmm. Not like, how do we manage our time? How do we create an influence like you on a podcast? You're talking about it. You're getting other people aware and awake about these things. There's a lot of things we can do without giving the lame excuse of like, well, I'm at my job. It's like a lot of these guys, they'll talk about it on the sidelines, but how many are willing to just put their name out there and their face out there like you, and talk about these things publicly?
Right. People are afraid of the backlash, but I've come to the point where I don't care anymore. Something has to change, and we have to speak out. And that's kind of where it dawned on me one day in church. My pastor was speaking up, and it's just like God tore open the ceiling and said, "Pat, do you hear that? I mean, that's you. You need to do this. You need to speak up. Stop being silent about the things that are going on." And I don't care if I tell one person, 10 people, like my podcast, I can get the word out there and, talk to people like yourself that are like-minded and try to, educate. Right. Because it doesn't mean some guys just don't have the direction. Right. Or they don't have like I work all day. I come home. I do this. I could be sitting on the couch right now watching TV, watch the news and going, oh, wow, look what's going on out there. But you got to find the time if you want things to change. Right. That's my motto. If you want things to change, you got to invest in yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
And your kids, right? I mean, that's like you said, who, stop letting other people raise your kids. Not only are they, a lot of them letting the mother raise their kids, but the schools, right? And look at what's happening there, right? That's another topic.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. So with the way that you have solidified how you are as a man, and you're teaching others now, how did that come about? Did you find the calling to say, hey, I gotta get my knowledge out there and show people, hey, this is how it will better your life?
Pretty much. It was more my wife. They say, you get yourself a good wife and she'll multiply all your efforts.
Definitely.
My wife was the one who was like, hey, you should put this on Instagram. I think people would desire having a marriage like ours. And I didn't have an interest. I wanted to be, if I was going to be on Instagram, I wanted to be on Instagram for my archery hunting.
You're right.
And that's how I wanted to be famous.
Sure.
And no one cared about my archery hunting. And she told me to put up a video, and I put up a video about parenting, and I had like 500,000 views in a week. And then I put one on relationships, and then that one hit almost 1 million. And now I've had, I don't know, like some 30 million views in the last however long. But yeah, it was because my wife, she was like, hey, put this out there. People need it. Yeah. Her girlfriends would come over and ask about a relationship and how they get their husband to do what I do. And that's kind of how it like really started.
Well, that's cool. She saw the real in you, right? I mean, and that's what it is. It's just to be real and to be able to be raw. And it doesn't mean like some men think, oh, well, that's not manly, but it is, right? And it's awesome to have a wife. I'm blessed to have a wife like that too. She pushes me to do these things, and she sees the real in me, right? And she knows that, hey, your voice can get out there. You can speak up. You can help other people. You can help other parents, and you can't just take a step back. And sometimes that woman in your life is the one that really pushes you. It's like they say, right? Behind every great man is a more amazing woman.
Yeah, a woman with a sharp stick.
Yeah, that's poking you. Right. But no, that's awesome. I think that when you go out and put that content on the internet, like you do and like I do, people resonate with the truth, right? Because you're not faking anything. You're just being realistic. You're being honest. You're being real. And this is information that a lot of people strive. They strive to be like you, because that's what they've been looking at. It's what they see that's missing in their life.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about too is, you talk about the blueprint for the modern man. Explain that a little bit.
I don't know if I've ever used those exact words, but I'll come up with my blueprint for the modern man. The modern man needs to be, I'm going to say my definition of masculinity. A masculine man needs to be a man of physical strength, mental strength, emotional strength, a man of courage. It means you're not acting out of fear or of anger. A masculine man, like I said, is desired by other men to be in their tribe. He's constantly working on his skills. He's a man of honor. So whatever he says, he's going to do. And then he has emotional intelligence to keep the women and children to feel safe and secure. Because a masculine man, it does not change through society. It transcends time. So 10,000 years ago, time of Jesus, the Oregon Trail, which was less than 150 years ago, today, or the zombie apocalypse tomorrow, it should look the same. And by emotional intelligence, women cannot handle cortisol the way men can biologically. So how do we keep her to where she wants to continue to breed so we continue our legacy? Because masculine men, they play the long game. pirates and barbarians, they play for instant gratification.
Yeah.
And if we look at Jesus, he's the ultimate example of a masculine man. When they were trying to persecute him, Pontius Pilate admitted he had no reason to crucify him.
Right.
And yet he tried to get a rise from Jesus. And in front of Pontius Pilate, he stayed calm and collected. He stayed calm and composed. When the Roman soldiers arrested him, he was calm and composed the entire time. You know, they were flogging him. That's essentially grabbing a baseball bat that's short and hitting him in the head. And now someone might say, well, how did he not fight back? He had to follow the scripture. He has fulfilled the scripture for us. And then I don't know if you believe in the Shroud of Turin. But if that is true, which I believe in it, he would have been about 5'10" in the land of the average guy being 5'7".
Yep.
And if you think about, they think he might have been 175 pounds, maybe 180 tops. That is a dude who is in shape because there wasn't food abundance. He would not have a lot of body fat on him.
Right.
He was walking constantly. He would have been a physical presence. And then you look at his cheekbones, his jaw structure, the muscles in his face. There is a lot to what women find attractive and what looks masculine from the how wide our jaw is. And,
right.
You know, and our cheekbones and our forehead. That's why it bugs me with all these kids having bangs now. All these
right.
Bangs.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. They don't realize how feminizing that actually is to them. We've never had a single president, regardless of what we think of some presidents, with hair covering their foreheads.
Right.
There's not a noble man in history who would cover their face with their hair.
Yeah.
Because it's feminizing.
Right.
And I don't think they realize that. So again, the blueprint for a modern man is really dive into the scripture and see how Jesus acted. He never was uncomposed. He never was quick to anger. Even when he flipped the tables, he sat on the steps of the temple, finished weaving a whip, went in there based off principle, and flipped those tables. Yeah. No different than a professional fighter, whether it's GSP or John Jones or Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford, who are fighting next weekend. You don't go in there with a rage. You're not going to be composed. He's composed in everything he does. And if he feels that he's, uneasy about anything, what does he do? He says, I'm going to go pray to the Father. And then he comes and returns. Right. Like, he's the ultimate example. So everything that I described, I get from Jesus. That's what he did.
That's some amazing advice. I think that, I watched a video of yours, about arguing with your wife. Same thing, keeping your composure, not stooping down to that level, being more, because, obviously, and this is never a diss on women. I think sometimes they think that we're trying to say, one's better than the other, but women are emotional, right? And men can't be, we got to be more of the, a chess player in the situation, right? And not stoop down to the argument. Like you said, then you kind of lose it. And now you're both playing on that same level, on that same field.
Yeah, exactly. Like, when men argue, like, get in verbal confrontations, they, on one hand, they're stooping down to her level, not in a negative way to her, but they're acting like a catty girl. Right. And she doesn't feel safe. She looks at, like, 1 Corinthians 11:3. I use it in that example. Like, Christ is the head of man as the man is the head of his wife. And when you abandon your post, she does not feel safe. She needs you to be that foundation, that rock that her waves can crash against. But when you argue with her and you start to engage in this fight to win, you're like a sandcastle, and her waves are just going to come and knock you over. Right. And she's not going to feel safe. There's nothing secure for her to latch onto.
Yeah. No, that,
and men just don't get that. They don't get that.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that's why you have a lot of, divorce and separations nowadays, is because I don't believe men really know how to handle that, and really know how to be in a marriage, right? And how that's supposed to work out. I mean, and at the end of the day, obviously, I think some people do just jump the gun and get married for absolutely the wrong reasons. But if you get married for the right reason and you can find the strength to be the man, right, and be the rock for your wife, the situation would end up a lot different.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that filters down to even your parenting skills.
Oh, yeah.
That's rough. How many kids do you have?
2.
Nice.
Hopefully we'll have more. We want to adopt as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have a boy and a girl, or
2 boys, and we want to adopt boys.
Okay. Yeah. Boy, it's totally different. I have a son and I have a daughter, and then I have a stepson and a stepdaughter. So I have 2 of each.
Nice.
Totally different worlds. Totally different worlds when you're raising each one, right? It's totally different. But also, again, as a father, right, you really start to learn how to kind of maneuver that, raising a girl, raising a boy. And like you said earlier, when you're raising your boy, it's a totally different situation, how you raise each one of them. Try to raise the boys to be men at some point.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things I really wanted to talk about was how you, how you really structure your family. I think it's very important for, especially men of faith, in your household, how you really have your sons now, look up to you as a dad. So when they move on in life, they learn those lessons. Because I know it's hard, like my dad right now, he's in his mid-80s, he's got Parkinson's. It's kind of hard to watch, your father, who was that figure, and he was that for me, growing up, to kind of go backwards, and you're taking care of them, right? But how do you put that, it's a lot of pressure, obviously, on a father when you've got boys watching you growing up, and how you treat mom, and and how your outlook on life is with the kids. How do you really put all that together?
I mean, I'm going to go on one hand, it's pretty easy, and I'm going to say, here's going to be the easy part: is love their mother. We know. We have a lot of data on what children are far happier, far more confident, far more able and productive in life when they come from a family whose father loved their mother, first and foremost. So again, there's a huge benefit to the nuclear family, and one that is intact, and the parents love each other more than they love their children. Yeah. So that's why I say it's easy. It's like, all you got to do is marry the woman who you made a covenant with. Right. Number two goes to that point where I said, men don't intentionally disciple their sons, and men haven't done that in a long, long time. So, but what I mean by intentionally disciple my sons is, I do not allow my wife, and I don't mean not allow, like she gets in trouble. My wife does not disciple my 8-year-old. I do. I deal with him in every situation, because he got to have the most wonderful time from birth to about 4 with mom and her feminine energy, which I think is so vitally important. And my wife was a stay-at-home mom. Okay. And then, you start reeling them into dad about 5, 6, 7. And then I think about a hard 7, 8, the father needs to take over completely. My 8-year-old, I don't allow my wife to make him breakfast. I don't allow her to make him lunch. Like, he can do it. And it's really great because he will help the 4-year-old make his breakfast, and he even teaches the 4-year-old. And now the 4-year-old can make his own breakfast. That's cool. By breakfast, I don't mean cereal. Right. We don't do cereal in my house. They're making banana pancakes. They're making eggs and bacon. that's what like we have for breakfast, and they know how to make their rice and steak. Like they know how to do all that stuff.
That's awesome.
My wife is not here to be their house servant. She's here to love me and be my partner.
Right.
Now we have a 4-year-old. So guess what? I intervene with the 4-year-old when I see that he's, my kids are actually great, both of them. And they respect my wife a lot, but I'll intervene on some things with him.
Sure.
But for the most part, he's still mom's. And we have a lot of hard conversations, my wife and I, about the upbringing them and the different stages and the expectations. But she understands that women cannot raise men. They'll raise boys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, it's hard for a mother to want to let go, but we have to intentionally have a plan. Like I have a plan based off his like age. Here's some things that we need to be doing. Here's some things that I want us to accomplish. Because if we think about the medieval times, you had pages by the time they were 7, squires by the time they were like 12, 13. And then by the time they were 18, they got to be finally a knight. And they had mentors, and there was a plan. The Mongolians, they did the same thing. The Spartans, they had the Agoge, very similar, 7, 8 years old. Native American tribes, they had rites of passage as well. We used to do that. Now we don't.
Yeah.
A quick story. My great grandfather, who I spent a lot of time with, he didn't die till I was like 17 years old.
Okay.
He bought a car with his own money at 13 and was able to legally drive it. That was in 1926.
Wow.
Today, if a 13-year-old mowed fucking lawns for an entire year and went and bought it himself, a Toyota Tacoma, people would lose their shit.
Yeah.
But teenager wasn't even a word back then in 1926. You were treated as a man by how you carried and presented yourself. And yet today, because men have offloaded the raising of their children to women, we have 20-year-old boys who can't fucking take care of themselves.
That's very true. Still living in the mom's basement.
We baby 17-year-old, 18-year-olds. Now, there's a large part of a 13-year-old that I still want them to have fun.
Yeah.
I also want to respect them as an adult.
Right.
Like I tell people all the time, let your kid be a child, but also cultivate respect as if they were an adult. Like I don't tell my kids in the snow to put on a jacket. If you were at my house, I wouldn't tell you to put on a jacket.
Right.
I wouldn't tell you to make sure you packed your food. So I don't tell them. Right. And guess what? They learn quick.
Yeah, sure they do. No, that's for sure. Yeah, it's like I said, it's the whole, it's all part of the whole aspect of being a father and really teaching these kids. And you made a great point. Back in the old days, I mean, there was mentors, right? And these boys becoming men had mentors, and they learned from them. And that's how they became men, right? And went off to fight wars and things like that at 16, 17 years old. And I think that nowadays we really have a different view. And I think it has just all become very soft, right? And that's just the word I can use with the way this generation, it's been happening, like you said. It's been decades, slowly creeping up, but they're the kids that are being raised today, and I hate to sound like my father, the kids today, but they've become very soft. Can't take care of themselves, right? And that's just, nobody wants to work either. Nobody wants to work. Nobody believes, they think they can get a handout and get everything for free, where at the end of the day, as you said earlier, it's you are, the product of yourself.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, it's deep, but it's honestly, that's just the truth. I think a lot of people are trying to be more, I don't even want to use the word progressive, but they think that they want to throw away the past, that those were all mistakes and barbaric, or any, they use those types of words to describe life before all of this nonsense that's going on now. I just look at it. I look at it today, and like I said, I mean, that's why I think you had a great point. Is the way Satan works through the men today, because we're just allowing him to come through and create the chaos that's happening right now, and we're just sitting back on the sidelines when we shouldn't be, and should be standing up to fix all of this. But I don't know. Do you think, I mean, it's going to take generations to turn it around?
Oh yeah. And it's guys like you, Adam Allred, Adam Free, there's guys out there talking about it, but it's going to take a while.
Yeah.
I think it's in its infancy.
It is, but we need the discipline, right? I mean, I think you just got to keep going, no matter how much people push back and try to silence you. It's just one of those things that if we don't speak up about it and we don't start teaching the next generation and teaching these kids, it's just gonna get worse. But again, it all starts at home, right? I think it's the same thing with politics and trying to change things in the world. It all starts grassroots. It all starts at home. It all starts in your neighborhood. And like you said, for a family, it all starts with the woman that you choose to be by your side, to be able to create life and start shaping and molding your family the correct way.
Yeah.
So for some of the men out there that probably don't agree with us that are listening to the show, I'm sure they're out there, what is one of the words of advice that you can give someone, maybe, and I've seen them, there's people out there that struggle, that want to be better. They don't know how to take that next step. They don't know, because we're all a work in progress, right? You've made some comments on a podcast I was listening to on your show where you were talking about how how a man should compose themselves, how you stand, when you're coaching your kids with your hands behind your back, and it's just the way you command the room, command the respect. I know there's guys out there that want to do that. I know that in a corporate environment, I do the same thing. You walk in a room, you if you're doing a presentation or you're speaking, public speaking or anything like that, you really need to have all eyes on you and stop fidgeting with your hands and making these, So what kind of advice do you give men out there that are really looking to better themselves, don't know where to start? What would be the advice that you would give?
I think I would say dive into your Bible, figure out what your identity is, hit the gym, find men who are where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And be humble along the way. You have to be humble.
Yeah.
Because if you're, it's either insecurity or pride that's going to keep you from making that progress. But yeah, start with God. You
got to have the foundation. Yeah. You got to have the foundation. And, you speak about working out 100%. So I had, and there was a point in my life where I was with the wrong person, and I had lost control of who I was, as a person, and my baseline was shot. I gained a lot of weight. I was up to 270 pounds, somewhere around there, totally out of control. Right, I was in my 40s, and I turned. I met somebody one night who was an owner of a gym, and he offered me, hey, stop by the gym. And of course, you're overweight and blah, blah, blah. He's like, it's embarrassing, but you got to make that move. Something made me make the move, right? And I went in, I worked out first day, I think 5 minutes. I had a panic attack and I went home. But I went back, right? And I kept going back and kept going back. And then next thing you know, it took me a couple of years, but there I was down to 195 pounds, in great shape, lost all that weight, started eating healthy, started digging into nutrition, right? And I wanted to become a nutritionist. And then I learned a lot about GMOs and organic food and the things that they're doing to our food and how to eat more real natural foods, right? To feed your body more or less. I mean, being Italian, it's kind of tough because food is like love for us, right? And, it's the pasta and the pizzas and all this stuff, the other things. But if you take your mind out of that and just say food is fuel, and you can have, there's days you can have something here and there, but more or less that's what I did just to kind of turn everything around. But it was odd that in the back of my mind, I was like, is this a little too late? I was like 43, 44 years old. And then at 45, I got diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which, people who know comes from pesticides and, whatnot in our foods. Mm-hmm. And and so I dealt with that, and went through a pretty tough battle with Hodgkin's lymphoma, with chemo, radiation, and the whole 9 yards. But I came out of that. I was more angry that I was gaining weight. I thought I'm the only cancer patient that's gaining weight. I'm like, is this my life? What is going on, right? I literally got back up to, I think, 240 pounds, 250 pounds. I'm like, this is ridiculous. But after I got done with all the, the radiation and stuff, and I got cleared, I started kind of going back to working out and trying to eat healthy again. And although your body changes after being poisoned, basically it's what it is, going through chemo. And there was a lot of things I couldn't eat anymore. So I had to reshape how I eat, what I eat. And I got down to like 225. And couldn't budge from there, no matter how hard I worked out and no matter what programs I followed. I at one point, my brother turned me on to Jim Stepani. You know who he is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did one of his programs and, I was putting on muscle, but I wasn't losing fat until then COVID hit us all, right? That whole nonsense came and everything closed down and you couldn't go to the gym. And then I got back up to like 236 pounds. And then I had a good friend of mine who's a keto coach and nutritionist and that, and he helped me out, kind of reset, and got down to like 186 pounds, 187 pounds. I'm like, all right, we're back at it, but that's the thing, you got to want it, first of all. You really got to educate yourself on the food and what you're eating and working out, right? Getting up in the morning, being, religious, so to speak, about it, and work out, eat well. And I think the foundation with, like you said, read the Bible, have God, have your health, because without that, you're shot, right? You don't have the energy to do anything. I think that is really the baseline for me. But that's great advice for people who are listening. If you don't have your health together, you don't really have much.
I agree. And shameless plug, my family, we sell grass-fed, grass-finished beef.
I'm going to put a link. Definitely. Do you really? That's amazing.
Yeah. Our website's blacklabelmeat.us. And we haven't used glyphosate on the ranch since 1997. Oh. So when you're talking about pesticides in your food, I know all about it.
That's where, the funny thing is when I got diagnosed, I looked at my oncologist and I said, pesticides. And she just kind of smiled at me. I'm like, yeah, I know you don't want to say it, but I know it. That's what it is. I'm like, I thought about it, right, working out and eating healthy. And I'm like, what am I eating? What am I really putting in my body? And I started learning about the organic foods and I started learning about the pesticides and all this stuff. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I eating here? And then at the time, back in when I was 45, I'm aging myself, I'm 54 now, but back at the time I was watching a lot of documentaries. They were out there, about the glyphosate and all the stuff that they were putting in our foods. And it's like, hey, I'm putting this stuff in my body, and then boom, there it is, Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wouldn't you know it? So no, that's awesome. So how many? So you have a farm?
Yeah, a ranch.
Nice.
Yeah, and the great thing is, all the land in the valley is owned by us. So there's no neighboring ranches that could be using glyphosate and then leach onto ours.
Great.
So yeah, it's all done right for sure.
That is awesome. So plug the website again for the meat.
It is blacklabelmeat.us.
All right.
Blacklabelmeat.us. And yeah, I would do the Pepsi challenge with any grass-fed beef out there. We're 100% grass-fed, grass-finished, regenerative, ultra high-density grazing. And we actually age our animals to be 5 to 7 years old.
Okay.
So it's considered aging on the hoof, and they're more tender, they're more nutrient dense than any grass-fed animal that's being butchered at 24 months or 18 months. And I tell people all the time, you guys can chat GPT this. In France, it's a normalcy. Italy, Spain, they all age their animals to be far older. And yeah, I tell anyone, get a quarter cow, half cow. We do subscription boxes, whole cow.
That is awesome. Wow.
Yeah,
see,
meat is something I can talk about for a long time. So
no, that's 100%, man. That's
for another day.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to do a whole show on that. That's really cool because, again, you're helping, humanity by actually, raising the animals the right way, right? And you're giving out real food, and which is really, really important. Now, you're teaching your kids all of this, I'm sure, right? They're helping out around the ranch and everything.
Oh yeah. So we don't live on the ranch, but when we drive out there, yeah, they're there. They're helping.
They're helping out. That's awesome. So that's parenting 101 right there, man. You're teaching them a livelihood.
Oh yeah. My boys, they love steak. We're not your typical kid household. They eat meat.
Nice. That is awesome. Cool. Well, I'm going to plug it anyway in the show notes. So anybody who's interested, we will probably have a whole nother episode about that, but I'm definitely going to plug it anyway in the show. Moving along, one of the things that I think is important, we talked a little bit about the being a Christian and whatnot, having a target on your back nowadays. Are you finding it hard with raising your kids this way? I mean, I'm sure you probably have thought this out. You're a pretty smart guy, man. I mean, you're living in the right area, surrounding yourself with the right people where your kids are really growing up without that target on their back.
Well, yeah, and it helps that we homeschool. My sons have never been part of a public school or traditional school system.
Okay.
So, and I'm in my Bible in front of them. I'm in my Bible at 3:30 in the morning. They're not up, but around post after my gym and when I have a workout, my meal after my workout.
Yeah.
When they're getting up, they see me in the Bible again.
Okay.
And then we talk about Jesus. They talk about Jesus. They do little school Bible stuff too. So Jesus is very all over our house.
Yeah, front and center. That's awesome. So the homeschooling, I think that's key nowadays. It doesn't matter where you are. And I hate, I have friends who are teachers, and God bless them because I know that they are in a situation that, it's their job and they can't say anything. And it's really sad. It's really sad because I've had heart-to-heart conversations with some of them. Some of them are very, very close friends of mine and my wife. And, they'll say, I can't believe that this is going on, or I can't believe that this is going on. And, of course, the guy in me is like, say something, why can't you say anything, and it's like unbearable, and you just get treated horribly, and you don't want to lose your job. And I understand that. Right now, especially for me, I live in Chicago, so you can only imagine. We have, our schools are, I'm just going to say they're indoctrination camps, right? These kids are going in and they're not even, our scores here are horrible. You know, besides the crime that we have here in the city that is out of control, the kids are not learning anything in school. You know, so I think homeschooling right now here in Illinois, in Southern Illinois, if you really look at our map, you know, Illinois is more of a red state, but it's Chicago that really screws everything up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But a lot of
California is.
Yes, California. I know I got a lot of friends
San
there.
San Francisco. And the rest is red.
Yeah, exactly. But there are a lot of Southern Illinoisans that are all trying to homeschool their kids. And I know there's been a lot of pushback. There's been a lot of stuff going on with that. But you guys had no issue with that. Have been doing that since they were born, and just the kids are really, I mean, I want you to be an advocate for homeschool. I think that's amazing. It's something that I think every parent that really wants to give their kids the best opportunity, honestly, homeschool. And, you know, as someone who's doing it right now, if you want to just shout out a couple of the benefits, I mean, I know what they are, but for the people listening out there, you know, give them the benefits of homeschooling your kids.
Oh, you're going to get an astronomical amount of time back with them. I believe 90% of the time we ever spend with our child is when they're under 18. And then the rest of the time you'll ever spend with them is about 5% after that. You'll ever be around. And so imagine the time that you get back. You're not allowing a stranger, and Christians and other people that get prideful in this, a stranger is raising your child, and a different stranger is raising them every year. And you don't know what their morals and values are. Any Christian who just thinks their kid's going to grow up to be just fine in a public school system, you are high. Yeah,
I agree. I agree. No, it's horrible. I mean, I've seen it. I've seen it with a lot of kids here, and it's sad. I mean, and it's dangerous right now out there. Like I said, there's just so much going on, and you don't know who's raising your kids, but in the majority of the time, I think we do know. You know, it's where you see it all over TikTok, you see it all over Instagram and the news, and these teachers are indoctrinating kids, and they're pushing their politics and their sexuality. I think right now, one of the worst things is teachers or anybody and any adult pushing sexuality on children is just disgusting. But it keeps happening.
Yeah, kids will often, they'll take the authority of their teachers over the respect of their parents.
Yeah, 100%.
All the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really sad, you know, and then you are left with, you know, defiance. You're left with a kid that's not going to listen to you. And when it counts the most, when they're in trouble, when they're having, you know, depression or every child goes through stages. We all know that, right? But who needs to be there for them? We do. You know, the parents need to be there. We need to be, as a parent, especially as your father, you need to be the lighthouse for the children. You need to be that guiding light, showing them right from wrong, and being there for them, hopefully, so much so that when they do have an issue, they can come to you, right? Rather than, you know, TikTok or, you know, somebody who has completely warped vision of the world.
Yep, I completely agree. I do.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, we're coming almost to time here, and I just want to say what a great conversation, Jesse. I'll go ahead and I'm gonna put the link to Black Label in the notes. Also, the link to your show. Shout out your show is available everywhere, right? Spotify, Apple.
Yep, YouTube. I even posted on X.
Yeah. Awesome. I'm going to go ahead and put the links of that in there. And anyone who is interested in what Jesse and I are talking about today, please, you know, check him out. He can, you know, he's got some amazing content on YouTube. You know, some of the things that we talked about today, go more in depth with him and learn about being a man and having that foundation in your life with God, and having that foundation to be a better husband, a better father, just a better person all the way around, which is what a lot of us really need today. That's amazing. So God bless, man. I really appreciate it, and definitely we'll have to talk again about Black Label, because we need to talk meat. We definitely do.
You let me know.
All right.
Let me know when.
For sure. All right. You hang on tight, everybody else. We'll be right back. Guys, so there you have it. That was Jesse from the Jesse Carstairs Show. What a great guy, man. Again, I'm going to put his links in the description of the show, in the show notes. Please check out his YouTube, check out his show, his podcast, the Jesse Carstairs Show. And again, I'm going to put a link to the Black Label, his pure beef, man, 100% grass-fed. Did you hear that? That's awesome. We're going to have him back on the show. We're going to talk a little bit more about that at one point in time. But for right now, guys, I totally appreciate you guys checking out the show. You guys keep coming back, keep sharing the show. Again, send out an email to thebeardspeakspodcast@gmail.com if you want to be on the show, or if you know someone that wants to be on the show, please shoot me an email. And again, guys, until we come back next time, stay good to each other. God bless. We'll see ya.